Hey, what's going on, guys? Back at it again with another one. I'm going to be answering a frequently asked question, especially that beginners ask me, is what should I learn first? So we're going to be talking about that today. So let's just say it's your first time playing bass. Either you picked one up at the music store or somebody gave it to you, whatever. So it's your first time picking it up. You have no idea what to do first. What should I learn first? So my first suggestion to all my students and Academy members is to learn the anatomy of the bass first. Learn what's what. Okay, if you understand what I'm saying. So learn that these are the tuning pegs, learn that this is the head stock of the bass, learn that this is the neck, learn that this is the nut here, this white part with the grooves in it, holding the strings, that is the nut. Learn the notes of the string. You have your fretboard, you have your fret markers, you have your actual frets, which are the metal pieces inside of the fret or on the either side of the fret. So you have your fret markers here, which I mentioned before. You have your body of your bass. You have your pickups here. Just simple anatomy, guys, simple anatomy. You have your pickups here, you have your knob switches here. And that's one of the first thing I would learn as well as far as your EQ. It's not the absolute first thing I would have to know or have to learn about the bass, because you really should be able to pick it up without even plugging in first and play the bass without any amplification at all. You should be able to sit down and play and actually hear yourself. If you're in a quiet room, or even if you're playing acoustic bass, some of them don't have the ability to be plugged in. So to be able to just know the anatomy of the bass, not even the EQ or the electronics at the time, because that can come later. All right, but first and foremost, I would learn what is what on the bass. Okay, get myself familiarized with that. Then I would think about or try to learn the posture, the correct posture of playing bass. I know a lot of people play differently, play or hold the bass differently. Sometimes you see guys standing up with the with the strap all the way down here playing that way. That can actually cause some injuries. We'll get into that a little bit more. But what I like to do is when you stand up, I'd like to adjust the neck. So when you stand up, the bass is still in the same place. See what I mean? So that I'm sitting right now, this is my preferred positioning. This is actually the preferred positioning to play bass. Some people switch knees. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But what I suggest to you, put it on your right knee if you're right-handed, left knee if you're left-handed. Okay. So the positioning and your posture of your hands and the bass. So bass right on the knee, that groove right down here. Most basses, 99% of basses have that groove, so it can sit right on your leg. Whether you're standing up or sitting down, like I said, make sure that positioning is perfect. All right. You might choose to bring it down a little bit. You might choose to bring it up. I know a lot of guys that bring it up that far. It's a little bit weird, but I just like it comfortable to where I'm sitting down. If I were to sit down and play a bass, this is where I would like it to be if I were to stand up. The other thing is to learn the strings, learn the notes of the strings first. All right. So learning bass and learning music, learning theory are completely two different things. So I try not to combine the two together. If you want to learn how to play bass, that's why I said learn the anatomy of the bass, because if you want to learn how to play music, you start off with notes, you start off with triads, chords, scales, intervals, things like that. But if you're trying to learn a specific instrument, you have to learn how do you play these things on that instrument. So learn the anatomy of the bass first. Then next, I will go to the notes of the strings, which you have E, A, D, G, which is standard tuning for a 4-string. If it's a 5-string, that first string will be a B, then it goes E, A, D, and G. Okay. Some people tune flat. I've talked about that before. A lot of gospel players tune down flat to either E flat or B flat, whether they have a 5-string or 6-string. Some people have a 4-string and tune this first E down to a D, the D drop tuning. But we'll talk about that more as well. But standard tuning, I want you to understand what's the standard first, but before you go and experiment with other things. So E, A, D, G. E, first string, the biggest gauge is your E. Next gauge smaller down is your E, is your A, excuse me. The next one is your D, and then your G. The next thing I would learn is how to position, or I talked about this a little bit, but how to position your hands once you start playing, once you get into your actual physically playing the bass. So your right hand, I would say halfway down your forearm should be over the bass. Okay, you see that? That way your hand can rest on the strings or on the pickup. Usually my thumb will be resting on this top pickup here, or if you see that. All right, you don't want a curved hand when you're picking the bass. You want to pick through. And I talk about this in a lot of exercises and dexterity techniques and things like that I talk about in tutorials, especially with fast picking or speed picking. You don't want to literally like pick the bass. I call it like the grab and pull. Like you don't want to slap the bass when you're actually picking. So it causes a pop, right? And then you can't get to the string fast enough, down to the string, because your hand is already away from the bass. So if you go through the string, you have less time and less movement that you have to do. It makes it easier for you. All right. So you want to go through the string with the meat of your finger, this flesh part of your finger, the tip of your finger. You want to go through the string. And what I would practice first is just going through the string, alternating 1 and 2, your index and your middle finger. 1, 2 on the G string, 1, 2. Okay. I would do that with the next string. 1, 2, go through the string to the next string available. All right. Once you pluck that string, you go through it and stop at the string before. All right, so if I'm plucking the G string, I will pluck that and then my finger will stop. The D string will stop my finger from going any further and I would rest there. 1, 2. Same thing with the next string. 1, 2. Next string. 1, 2. I would use that as an exercise when I first started playing bass, just going back and forth. I mean, you can have the strings open if you want to. I just had the strings muted for this purpose because that can get a little annoying. But anyway, but just one exercise that I can do. And then eventually I will start adding my left hand to those exercises. And one great exercise for beginners is a chromatic exercise. It's just getting yourself familiar with pressing the strings down on the fretboard, using every single finger, which is very important. I have a lot of tutorials talking about don't be the 3-finger guy. But utilizing that 4th finger or that pinky in the beginning is so much more beneficial in the long run. You won't create this habit to where your 4th finger gets weaker than all the other fingers. It gets so weak to where you can't use it and you don't want to use it. You don't want to get there. Okay, so for dexterity purposes, if you have that concern, you want to use your 4th finger in the beginning of your playing. So chromatic exercise, very simple. I'm going to show you. And I have an elaboration of this chromatic exercise. I think it's, I talk about speed, and there's one, I think it's called the speed. I'm not sure if it's called the speed demon. It's not called the speed demon. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly what it's called. I'll put a link to it for you guys. You guys can check it out once you get comfortable with this. But this is what I would suggest as a beginner. So that. So first string, so first finger presses down on the, so first finger presses down on that first fret, which is the F. We're going to get into notes later, but now we're physically trying to learn how to play. We're physically trying to get that, the technique down. All right. And also one thing to notice is your hand position, your left hand position. You want it as if you're holding a cup, phone, whatever you want to, you know, what I have at the time. Doesn't matter. Just whatever you're holding. All right. A cup or a can or something like that. So you want that curved motion. You want your hand to be open. All right. You don't want it to be closed. A lot of people I see when they first start off, they think they have to close their hand to play these notes, but that actually hurts in the long run. It's actually a lot harder to play that way. So open your hand up. So you see the difference between this closed, that open, that wrist, that joint movement from open to close. All right. So you want this, not that. Okay. So your thumb is your help behind your neck, behind the neck. That is your anchor. All right. That is your partner. Okay. So it helps you press the string down firmly, or else you'll get this. You get that noise. You don't want that. You don't want that crazy buzzing. I know some people that I like a little bit of buzz on my string, but that has to do with the action, but we'll get into that later. So first finger down with your thumb behind, helping you press down the string firmly, your hand open. All right. You're going to do the same thing with your second finger on the next fret. You want to press the string down closer to the edge of the fret, coming closer to you, closer to the edge of the metal piece of the fret. All right. Not, some people say right in the center, but I feel like the sweet spot is right before the fret. All right, so be careful with that. Watch closely. Next, third finger. Okay, we're gonna go 4 because you just have 4 fingers for now. We're gonna do that exercise. Same thing the next string down. When you play the open A string, press down, next fret, next fret. Next D string, we're gonna play the open string. Same note on that string. All right, so you see how these notes are coming out very clear. We're gonna do the same thing, we're just gonna repeat. All right, so you want to practice that. You want to go up and down with it. You want to ascend and descend, but didn't want to make this lesson too long. I just wanted to give you a beginner's guide of what you should learn first when you pick up a bass. All right, so from here, you can actually go anywhere, all right, with learning the notes, okay? You want to start off slow. As far as theory goes, you want to start off slow, and technique is where it is. All right, I see a lot of people concerned about, oh, I'm not, I play too slow, I'm not getting it. Trust me, the technique is what you need to focus on. Speed will come later, and speed is not even the most important thing. Your technique has to be right on point, okay? So focus on those things that I've outlined for you guys. I hope that helps you beginners, and then you can go from there. I will do another part of this lesson tutorial as far as what beginners need to know and more anatomy of the bass, but this is just an overview of what you guys should learn. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also push that notification bell icon. I know that's one more step you got to take, but it's worth it so you don't ever miss a lesson that I post every single Friday and even more times than that. And if you're really serious about taking your bass playing to the next level, you'll become a Bass Nation Academy member at DaricBennett.com. All the links and all the info is in the description. I want to see you there. Come check us out. 3-day free trial, nothing to lose. I want to see you there. Did I say I want to see you? I want to see you there. Till next time.